Hey, all you beautiful humans out there. Thank you for joining me on a Perch Your Birds podcast, episode number 32. Today I'm joined by a warrior in the voiceover arts. This guy is a regular badass. I'm joined by Mr. Brent Allen Hagel. He's self-made, mostly self-taught voiceover artist with humble origins and a warrior's work ethic. This dude is sick. He created a business out of literally nothing in a town that is notorious for eating would-be artists and dream seekers. That little town is called Hollywood. My man meets me over Skype from Hollywood via the interwebs. I call him the Bruce Willis of voice acting. And he joins me talking to all things voice acting, technical side, industry side, and the passion and the origins that he had, and you know, the passion that he continues to have and has to have to work in such a niche industry and be able to survive. Brent recently acquired international and best in the business representation using his signature sound and plethoras of successes that he has built on for the last 10 years in voice acting. Can you say plethoras? You can do that, right? Like many plethoras. I'm defeating the purpose of the word. You can find Brent on his site, brentallenhagel.com, and the amazing collaborative business that he created with some of the best in the business at voicetrailerartist.com. Get cozy with us and hear the exciting story of a man who's truly pursuing greatness. Apologies for the delay, humans. I definitely have more stuff coming out in the next 2 weeks, and then every 2 weeks after that for at least the foreseeable future. So I like to call this season number 2. I don't think I've ever taken a break over a month, so I apologize for the delay in putting out the episode, but I did put this one together with some love. Brent, thank you for being patient with me, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I was truly humbled to have the experience to be able to talk to somebody as badass as you. That is real talk right there. All right, guys. Thank you all for your support. Stay humble out there and keep pursuing greatness. Cheers. Welcome to a Perch Your Birds podcast. I got Mr. Brent Allen Hagel from Trailer Voice Artists, excuse me. And he's basically, as I put it, the Bruce Willis of voiceover acting. Definitely got a nice resume of things that you have done. I see that you do a heck of a lot of like studio stuff, man, and that's huge. What got you into voiceover acting and I guess voiceover trailer acting? Am I saying the right word even by saying acting?
It is acting, yeah. And that's kind of the misinterpretation. People say that people tell them they have a good voice, they should do voiceovers. It's very simplistic of what it actually takes. So I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. I'm going to give you the quick version here. When I was like, I was always in elementary school, I was always in the plays and things, and then from there, when I was in 5th grade, we would stay in Seattle. And the people I stayed with didn't believe in cable television. So we had to kind of entertain ourselves, and they had a camcorder. So we'd go to the local library and rent old tapes of 50s radio shows. And in the 50s radio shows, they sounded just like this.
Oh, wow, man.
So I learned how to mimic that sound. And I thought voiceover was that. I thought voiceover was sounding like you're a 1950s radio announcer.
Right.
And then I learned that that's not what it is, but it got me into it and the idea of being on the radio. And then in high school, I was the sound engineer for all of the dance concerts and the rallies and things like that. So the cheerleaders would bring me their music and I would cut like 3 songs into their 60-second routine. So I got used to using to editing audio and things like that.
You were the guy that made those cool like beats and stuff for the rallies, right?
Exactly. Yeah, like they would take like three of the hip hop songs at the time, like Akon or Mary J. Blige or whatever it was, and then I would turn it into their dance routine for their steps. And then we had, some performers. Colby Calais was in my class, so I helped edit some of her routines and things like that. And she went on to be a, superstar. Good for her.
Right. Yeah. So it was kind of like, did you see people around you doing things like that kind of got to, give you projects to mess with? I mean, was there a lot of that going on in your school?
Yes and no. I kind of just made it up myself. I invested in like a video camera and, just kind of started shooting amateur
so
movies.
You're a go-getter.
Yeah, I just basically boredom. I mean, just made it up. And then they needed an announcer for all these events. So I took my 1950s radio voice and turned it into ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Homecoming. I kind of just altered it a bit. And then everyone's like, wow, that's really good. You should do that for a living.
Yeah, for real, man.
So I'm like, all right.
So that's a total natural progression of the whole thing. Like, it seems like you kind of set your sights on it early on and just chased it. So then you're going through high school and you're getting to the point where you're seeing that people are looking at this. Did you start to look at, like doing it as gigs and go to auditions and stuff like that? I mean, how does that work?
In high school, I was also an extra in TV shows. So yes.
Nice.
So I would, I got a car when I was 16, so I'd drive into LA and I'd be on like Malcolm in the Middle and Lizzie McGuire and these Disney shows, Fox shows, just as an extra. Cool. You put a backpack on, you walk up and down the hallways there on set. You get you get $100 and you get the day off school, and then
maybe some pizza or something.
Some pizza, yeah. You still have to do some class on set, but then they would do ADR on the set, so they'd have a mic, and all of us kids would gather around in a circle, and we just do like background chatter. And I was like, what are we doing? They're like, oh, this is called voiceover, and we're basically we're making sound effects for the TV show. And I'm like, this is really cool. Like maybe I could do more of this.
Right. So you're doing this background chatter stuff, and I'm guessing that you're noticing that this is a focus and stuff like that. So I mean, are you seeing that? Do they look out for that? Like when you go and you look up where they need people to come audition, do they like background chatter actor number 3? Is that like a thing that they look for, or this just something that you fell into in a scene?
Something that I just fell into when they needed it. But there's specific jobs and groups. They're called ADR loop groups. And these people get together and that's all they do is make these background sound effects. Like if it's a hospital show, they'll get together and just like say technical jargon, like in a group.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a cool. See, so I've done a couple extra roles myself, but I've never done something. I'd say that the stuff I've always done has been like a 30,000 foot view. Like I literally was just the guy, like you said, kind of walking around in the background, never had any sort of interaction really like anywhere near the camera. Like I think I was trying to total up all the different stuff that I've done and like how much screen time I've had after cutting, right? After the final product. Yeah. And I think I've got maybe 6 seconds with like, you'll see a collar of mine, like in a dance scene.
That's the shirt I was wearing.
Like, and that was the girl. Yeah, that was the one, So yeah, that's awesome. So when you're getting these ADR loop groups that you're looking at, so then this kind of gives you a direction, right? Because I remember when I asked you about voiceover stuff, I was like, I wouldn't even know where to look for those types of groups or that union, right?
Yes, and that I don't do that particularly. That is very. You join a loop group and you're kind of like, it's still like clicky. You still have to get invited into one of those because they'll work. Okay. They'll work. It's good money. And they'll work pretty much every day. Wow. So they'll be like, hey, we're doing, a beach theme scene. So, say things you would say on the beach and they hand you scripts, or a lot of it is like electronic arts and a lot of the video game stuff. You'll be like yelling out grenade, or you'll be yelling out.
I always wondered about that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Or like, they'll be like, all right, your characters are all the German army. So you need to say everything with a German accent.
That's cool. So then I'm sure that you're slowly, as coming. We got the radio voice. Are you trying to master different voices and accents like that? Like you're saying, like do you have like a mean German accent you can throw and just at will?
That's coming with time. I had that. I brought that up because I had that audition about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but not really. I've always played kind of the straight man.
Okay.
Because that's just where I'm comfortable, and I'm getting into the more of the animation things because those roles are coming in for me. So I'm auditioning for, like DreamWorks and Cartoon Network and things like that to be these characters. That's basically way into the acting and imagination and putting yourself in a different body in a different scene. You have to do all this in your mind. Robin Williams would be a great example of like the master of something like that. He's the man of a million voices, and they put a genie in front of him and he's like, oh, I got this, and he just comes out with a voice.
Well, and he can do so many variations of the same, kind of like tone, I guess, because I've seen him take his characters and tweak them, a guy and a girl or vice versa, and even just playing ever so slightly with his voice, like you could tell he puts work into it behind the scenes. It's not just something he's goofing around at a party with or whatever, like it sounds like he's actually trying to make that part of his act, because when you see him do it on stage, it's clean, his little interchanges, and it seems like madness, but I'm sure a lot of that is very, he sat down and he worked that out, like how to make those sounds. Because I had been, kind of looking into a lot of the voiceover stuff that you had sent me, and I'd looked at some of these guys that were up there changing voices, like within a minute they would do like 20 different voices, and that they had talked about spending their entire lives doing that. So I'm guessing that, like you're saying, you're usually the straight-laced kind of character with your voice. I'm sure you worked hard to develop that straight-laced sound, because seeing you the first time I saw you with the in the Vayner Nation, shout out to Vayner Nation, saw the it was like a 50-second spot that you had done of you in the booth, and just to see your hand gestures and how you really were owning just that, that short snippet. And it was like an intro for a show, right? Like NCIS or something like that. I think that was around the time that I had contacted you, was when you were doing that little promo.
Yeah. So I specialize in the promos, trailers, and narration. And I also do some commercial work, because that's essentially me within my own vocal range, just being me as an announcer.
Sure.
There's no like character play involved. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these successful voiceover artists come from a stand-up comedy background, because you have to be very quick-witted. Your brain just works in a certain way where
change
you can
gears in a hurry.
Exactly.
Sure.
And you're trying to please the crowd, and you know how to hit a punchline, and you know how to make people laugh, and that's what a lot of this entertainment is. And for me, I was just focusing on kind of having a good voice and then being able to deliver the story correctly. So for me, it's still an evolutionary process. And I give so much credit to people who do animation, video games, and even audiobooks, because to be able to record for, 10, 12 hours or
at a shot.
And then you have to edit everything, and then you have to play characters within the audiobook. And so there's a lot of different genres of voiceover. And I've chosen these because I get to see like things blow up, and I get to be the guy who's like, now to catch a killer. It's just it's exciting work. So I like it.
Right. So and then how often are you going into do you have to work on your vocals in order to make it something? Because it's essentially an instrument. I realize you're not singing per se, but I'm sure you do some grueling days where you're just tearing it up. I mean, do you have to go into like vocal rest and stuff like that, or watch your diet, anything fancy in order to keep your voice smooth like that?
I kind of prioritize, like if I know I'm going to do like a loud car spot or something, I'll kind of save that towards the end of the day. Or if the audition requires, because auditions are coming in every day, so I have to kind of see what they want from me, because it'll say like this job requires shouting, and they'll kind of preface it what they're looking for. Sure, so okay. Yeah, I'll save those towards the end, because if they want something nice and soft, I'll do that first. Because some of them will want that kind of that vocal fry thing, and if they want that, then I'll do that after I do like an auto spot or something where they want Sunday, that sort of thing. But the amount of work that comes in is just totally random things.
That's interesting,
and they just want you to make the director or the producer's dream come alive. So you just kind of have to be very fluid and open to interpretation, and just kind of go for it.
Wow, that's awesome, man. And I like how you're niche down, because then you can really hone that craft, like you said, because I'm sure it's different than like comedic timing and stuff like that. But that's cool that it started off with you essentially just, listening to some tapes, man, and then you become this 50s producer sound, or 50s DJ sound, right? Yeah. Where you're coming across like that. Do you find one particular voice is like your gold, like you're the best at it? Is it that announcer voice?
It is a version of that has been modernized.
Okay.
So that sound is now kind of cliche, and even the Don LaFontaine movie trailer sound is kind of cliche. So all of it has just been kind of, the rules are still there, but the actual delivery of it needs to be more conversational and relatable. They need to be able to listen to the voice, and this is what a Fox producer told me. They need to be able to listen to the voice and imagine the face of that person. It can't be a voice of God anymore.
Right. Okay. So it has to have like a character, a personality to it almost.
You have to be able to imagine a real person behind it, not just like some ominous voice coming from the sky or something,
Right.
So you kind of just take all the rules of the deep bass and the punctuation and the way you hit the words, and then make it kind of an adaptation of your own personality.
So when you develop this voice, I mean, so you're coming out of high school, did you ever go see a coach, like somebody that actually coaches you in the methodologies or the actual, like I'm sure there's got to be acting classes, but for voiceover, right? Some sort of, is there? I guess that's
yeah, sure. So I went into radio. Because those classes you speak of do exist, but they cost a lot of money. You're talking $600-$700 per class. And then on like a weekend intensive for like 2 days will be like $500-$600. So it's a thriving business. Coaching is a thriving business. It costs a lot of money.
Is it worth it? I mean,
yes. In the beginning. So I did about 7 years of training. Wow. And it took me 10 years to land my first promo campaign. Wow. Well, on network television, a lot of my buddies, I grew up in this kind of northern LA area. So a lot of them went into production. So once I started telling everybody, hey, I'm doing voiceover, they would send me scripts. And if the creative director liked it, they would hire me. So it is a who you know situation.
Sure.
They say voiceover isn't fair. It will never be fair. Just get over it because it's a who you know thing.
Sure. I think that's most of like entertainment kind of Hollywood stuff, right? I mean, a lot of it has to do with that, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I did do radio, but the radio doesn't really help you because you fall in love with your own voice in radio and you become this guy who's on the radio and he's doing his, that thing. But that's not what voiceover is because it sounds cheesy and fake to like, if it's like
consistently do that.
Yeah. If it's like a cinematic movie scene and all of a sudden this guy comes in, like, whoa, wait a minute.
Right. When's the trailer going to like end here? Yeah. I mean, and I've seen a lot of people that have expanded from who they know, but when I had talked to you about like what got you into this stuff, and then of course you had kind of explained to me in the short of the thing what trailer voice artists stood for. You really did start from having nothing going on, and I'm sure just spending money in order to try to get in the door for this stuff, because you're saying training's that expensive. You're training for this long. It took you that long to get your to get yourself to the point where you had your first gig. So when you were getting into this stuff, tell me the story, man. Like where were you, I think you were saying something like you were sleeping on your brother's couch. Do I have that right? Or a friend's couch? And that was like the very low of the low while you were starting to work your way into the voice world, right?
There's a lot of stories. Well, I was living in Berkeley. And I was volunteering at the UC Berkeley radio station, Calix. So I had some airtime. I was doing sports broadcasting. So I had my airtime. I always knew I wanted to do voiceover. I was ordering books on voiceover off Amazon. I was reading and I couldn't figure out. I was probably, I don't know, like maybe 22 at the time, around there. I'm like, okay, I need to move back to LA if I really want to do this. Right. So I moved back to LA. I was living at my grandma's house on a deflated inflatable mattress in the room.
That's right. Okay.
And I have like zero. I have like zero money. I've been doing catering and food service and things. Just getting weekend gigs, enough money to just survive because, it's hard to follow your path if you have no resources.
Sure. You don't have like a rich daddy and mommy and all that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally get you, man.
So I got a job at a local restaurant. And I just started saving money. And then I was able to start taking classes. But, being able to save up $600, making $850 an hour plus tips, for me, this is like a huge investment. So I was just super pumped on it.
Right.
But gradually I became a chef, and then I ran a senior living building as the executive chef for 5 years, and I finally got like a salary making good money. Wow. So then I was able to accelerate the process because I was making, I don't know, like under $50,000 a year, more or less. And so now I had every 2 weeks I could take a workshop here or there. So I researched the best promo and trailer coaches in LA, and I just went to all of them, did private coaching. I worked it out. And then at some point, they're all telling you the same thing. The answer is within sight of you. And the answer is, just be yourself, but behind a microphone. Because I was still trying to be this guy the whole time. Right. Coming soon on CBS.
It's like you click a button when you do it, man. It's so clean.
Yeah. Yeah, right. But like I still have that voice. Like if The Price is Right ever needed like that style of announcer, like I could pull that out of a hat, and I could be that. I could be that guy. But it is one of many characters, is what I've learned. Yes, and then I lived on my brother's driveway in an RV for a while. But then, once I cleaned up my act, and my wife's like, "Hey, let's get married," and come on, we're gonna have a kid, and you need to be an adult now.
Right.
And I was
gotta start doing the big boy stuff.
Yeah, and then, but that came with me maturing and being able to follow my passion as my outlet, and then I eventually, after about 14 years, turned that into, once I made enough money to equal out, then I was able to cut the work, the cooking, and be like, all right, I'm going to do this now because, maybe I can pay the bills,
Right. That's got to be the day too, man, when you could just drop your towel and be like, I'm out. I'm going to do what I want.
I did. I hugged everybody goodbye, and I said, thank you for everything. Like, this has nothing to do with you guys, but I got to go do me. Like, I've been working at this for at the point, it was 12 years now. And I have to try. Like, I could have failed, and I could have been back in the kitchen. I just had to try.
Well, look at you go, man. So then we started from there. Had you already started Trailer Voice Artists, or were you that was the next step, is you started Trailer Voice Artists in order to start a business, right? Like, you're actually going to pursue this full time, or I'm sure it was half and half kind of thing for you stepped out.
So Trailer Voice Artists is an evolution of my work. My main voiceover business is just my name, BrentAllenHagel.com. So it's like Tim Allen or Charlie Sheen. It's like you are your own brand. You just slap what's it called? A barcode on your chest, and you say, "This is my brand. Scan me to buy me."
Sure.
If that makes sense.
No, it totally does. Yeah. I mean, and you'd worked for so long to create, a high quality brand. So that totally makes sense that you do that. You know what I mean? Like, they know you as that guy, as the Tim Allen or the, I'm trying to think of who would be a current big guy in voiceover. Who's somebody that is like an A+ actor in voiceover right now?
Oh, there's so many. Zach Galifianakis is getting a ton of work.
Oh, sure. Okay.
He does a lot of animation stuff. A lot of those Pixar and animated movies, and a lot of the singers actually, like Rihanna and stuff, will get roles. Anyone who has a good voice, and because they're working with a famous Disney director in there, they're telling them exactly how to sound and what to do.
Right. So, but then that brand sells itself, and I'm sure at one point the Brent Allen Hagel brand is starting to become kind of renowned around town, right? I mean, that's kind of the idea. So is that what allowed you to finally start getting like income supporting work, was to just slowly get your brand together, or did they know Trailer Voice Artists? Like, what was the one that stood out?
Well, my brand is, there's a lot of behind the scenes marketing and hustling and, a lot of things going on to make this happen. But but the Trailer Voice Artist is a separate thing. I'll explain that.
Okay.
But yes, becoming a brand and gives producers some, what I call it. There's not as much fear when they know they're hiring someone that people know.
Sure.
They're not taking so much of a risk. That's what I'm looking for. They're not taking a risk on me because they know I can do the job.
Like, you're a professional.
Exactly.
Sure.
And that has a lot to do with who your agent is, because if they know their agent, they know that that agent has good people, then they trust you even more. So it's a combination of factors that gives you that credibility. And so I was really working up to that stage, because I emailed agents for 3 years and no one wanted anything to do with me.
Sure.
And then eventually one agent will take a chance on you, and then you book a couple jobs, and then you try to get an agent with a little bit more prestige.
Sure.
Because everything is viewed in a hierarchy of, the best agent in town. And so the producers will I'm not going to go to any other agent because I'm just going to go to the best agent in town because they have the best people.
Right. It's kind of old school Hollywood though, right? Like, you always have the people that are vetted, and they're the ones that they turn to make major productions and stuff like that, right? I mean,
totally.
Sure.
So the top 5, have been the top 5 for 10 years.
Wow. So then you created, your brand as yourself, and you're getting that big. Did you have an agent back then? I mean, was that something that you said 3 years they didn't answer, but I mean, did you finally get somebody that grabbed you up, and that was what moved you forward, or you're doing all this yourself, aren't you? Like, the majority of the auditions and the gigs that you were getting to pull yourself up?
Yes. That's just people I know. I'm was making my own demos most of the time. I eventually got professional demos made, but majority of the time, since I had that audio editing background, I was producing all my own stuff and then just marketing, just cold emailing people and just getting it going.
That's a huge amount of work. I do the podcast, man, and that's enough work on just for my, once every 2 weeks. I couldn't imagine doing the constant go to work full time, come home, do a demo, cut that stuff up, and then audition. Oh my gosh, that's awesome, man. So you worked your ass off to get where you're at. That's awesome, man. I'll be honest with you. That's why I put you on the podcast, because I thought your story was so unique, and not only you're just, where you're at now, but the pursuit, like how you got there. That's hardcore, man, because that's something that's a complete dream. People say they want to pursue being an actor, but what about a niche of acting, right? That's even more niche down, is to be a voiceover actor. That's amazing. So then you've been working your butt off, and I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but I know that you just recently had some success with getting picked up by some big agents, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I am in a constant struggle, and I watch Gary Vee all the time, and I'm sure you do too, about the hustle and about positioning in the marketplace. I'm a huge marketing guy, which doesn't really, like, I'm a voice actor, but in order to be successful, it is basically I'm reading copywriters' words. I'm dealing with ad agencies and movie studios, and promos and trailers are marketing for media.
Right.
So I'm a huge marketing guy. Sorry, I lost train of the question. What was the original? I got all pumped up.
He's like, hold on, I got this big idea. I think you had me following you there for a second. I think the question I was asking is that you're getting these new agents you had picked up recently. Yeah, no worries.
So I I'm constantly following the market. I'm watching who's booking. What are they booking? Who is their agent? Basically, I follow the money, just like an FBI agent would do. Who is making the most money? Who is representing them? How are they getting this work? So these are questions you have to ask yourself. You have to do work.
Right.
You have to do research. So I was with an agency, and I felt that I could have, I don't want to phrase this where I'm hurting anyone's feelings. I felt that I would have more opportunity if I made us change. So the head agent at Abrams Artist Agency, which is a huge agency, had just broken off about 3 months ago. And a friend of mine was with him. And I had a conversation. I was lined up to go to another agency already. And I had a conversation with him. And he said, "Hey, man, let me make a phone call for you. And I think you guys would be a good match." And so we chatted on the phone. He's just a super cool guy. He's like the anti-agent. He's just like, "Here's my cell phone number. You have any questions, you call me up. We'll make it work, dude." Like, that's awesome. Instead of like, yelling at people and like throwing things across the room like you imagine an agent would be, he's just a super cool guy, and his roster is very small. So in voiceover, some rosters will be 300, 400 people. And how much attention with one agent? Right? How much attention, how much do they care about your career?
Right.
Because they may
do one a day, right, out of a year, right, barely.
Exactly. So he only had about, I think, 30 or 40 people on his roster at the time. So I wanted someone that would give me individual attention as a person. It may be a needy actor thing, but it's also a business thing. How they work for me. An agent works for you. You're a team.
You're the talent. So, essentially you should have the ability to pick, I think. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's always something that's overlooked, even though they may be XYZ in terms of their clout as an agent. I think that, if they're an asshole, they're an asshole, right? Like, you don't want to work with somebody that's going to treat you like that, because this is your career, man. It's your dream. I could totally see how you're putting that into, when you're looking at these guys as to who to pick. Because I remember you had said that this was a really big deal to you because changing agents is huge, and I could see how having that attention on you as only one of like 30 would be much better, man. Because Jesus, it's competitive enough to compete with other people under the same agent, man. That would be tough.
Yeah. So not only are you competing against other talent agencies, you're competing against your own agency. And then within that, you're competing against the celebrities within your own agency.
Right. The top 5 or whatever.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. It's not where I was bad. And there's plenty of people who are doing fantastic there. Sure. I made a personal decision. And then because the agent I picked is only in Los Angeles, I needed New York coverage. I needed more market coverage. So I reached out to someone I had reached out to about a year or 2 years ago, and he said, "I love you, but I don't need you now." And so I had made this change, and I'm like, "Hey, I wonder if I can still pull that off."
Right.
And so I hit him up, and he's like, "Dude, call me right now. Like,
let's awesome.
Let's do this." So then all of a sudden I made this leap of faith, and I came out with 2 of the best agents like in the country.
Right. Do you mind if I say who they are? I saw them on your Facebook page.
That's totally fine.
Yeah. So which one is Dean Panaro Talent? Which one is that?
That's Los Angeles.
That's Los Angeles. Okay. And then the Paradigm Talent Agency, that's the one in New York?
That's the one they're like in New York, London, they have like 8 or 10 offices.
Damn, man. That's awesome. So would you consider yourself to be like international? You're international famous?
Sure, awesome. Not famous, but yeah, not yet.
Right.
Like, even though I'm this far in, I'm still just beginning because I'm not like a 60-year-old man, you know? Like, I'm still like...
You're going to be an Ice Age 6, man, or something, right?
I wish.
Gonna see you in there. My kids watch Disney movies all the time, and that's of all the things, that's what really was like piqued my interest when I saw you doing what you're doing, and I'm like, man, I wonder if he does any sort of animation. So have you done any awesome creative projects outside of the radio stuff? Like, can you speak to one of them, like an animation or a short or anything like that?
Oh, they come through all the time.
Do you have any you can tell us about that we could go look up? Like, are you in any kids flicks? I don't know.
No, I'm not. I'm not in any kids flicks. I've done a few. Basically, when you do something, you're not allowed to talk about it, and then sometimes the project will get cut. So a lot of the trailer stuff I do just ends up on the cutting room floor because they went with another trailer house for the market or for that gig. So when you work on something, other people are competing for that same thing.
Right.
So I don't get paid unless they actually pick my finished product.
Even after even if you do the work, they don't pay you?
No, because that's still just an audition.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's
a lot of
cutthroat, man.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, because the producers didn't get any money from it, you know, so they don't have any money to pay you. As far as animation stuff, no, but it's coming through, and I'm just starting that process now with my new agent because he is very strong in animation and video games, whereas where I was before was not so much.
Sure.
So now I am working with a fellow voice actress, and she has become kind of my personal animation coach, and I am her personal promo and trailer coach. So we trade each other our expertise for free.
Right. Okay. What a unique relationship too, to have that trade-off. Do you see more money in one or the other? Like one facet of the voiceover stuff? Is there more in like animation? I feel like video games are huge right now.
Yeah, we don't really make that much money.
Really?
It's more of just like prestige.
Damn. See, you're throwing it all on its head. I thought you'd made it, you know, when you're doing a Halo voiceover or something, you know. I thought that was big. So there's no royalties involved for the sales of the games, or is that, I mean, I'm just curious. I realize that you're just getting into this stuff, but is that how that works? Like, do they try to set you up where you get residual after the fact once it releases?
That has all happened in the past 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
Where SAG is saying, hey, they figured out that these video games are making billions of dollars and the voice actors get paid their $700 per session or whatever it is.
Right. And then no royalties.
No royalties. You get paid when you're there, and you get paid like a day's wage. And then that's it.
Wow. Okay. So this is an evolution of SAG, and you guys are part of the same SAG because that's the Screen Actors Guild, right? Is what SAG stands for? And
yeah, Screen Actors Guild.
So you guys are part of the same union that on-screen or, you know, film actors would, right?
Yes. It's all the same thing. And they just, this month, I just voted on it, are doing residuals and royalties for streaming services animation, like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon. If you're in an animated series there, then you will now get residuals. So it's an evolutionary process to try to get us paid, because they see the amount of money being made, and the portion of that the actors are getting is like 1%, if that, right. 0.05%. So they're like, come on, give us like 3%, you know, give us something. Right.
And then I guess that can make it to what's more viable for people to turn to that as a career path. But I guess ultimately that'll bring more competition, right? I mean,
yeah.
Sure. But you said it's who you know. So I feel like you're like you said, you're watching the market and you're strategizing to put yourself in a position where you're going to be known, and then you're under some trusted agents, right? I mean, that's kind of the idea of what your game plan is.
Yes. And in every genre, whether it be video games or animation, there's still going to be the higher echelon of those actors. And in those particular genres, they're going to usually go for celebrity voice actors and on-camera celebrities.
Sure.
And then occasionally, if someone is good enough and like just nails the character, they'll go for one of us just, regular voice actors.
Right. Well, and then I'm like you're saying with the extra stuff, is there something to that? I mean, can you get like 3 or 4 lines in an animation film as like a supporting actor, and then that ends up being that segue that could have opened up, and now oh man, he nailed the shit out of pirate character number 2, in some like cartoon. So is that something that you aim for as you look for these smaller roles on the side, or do you go for the big ones? I mean, or do you audition for them all?
I go for everything, but I like to be the leading man because,
right, of course.
But yes,
because you're a badass like that, Brent.
Yeah, right. But what you would do is you would take that role. This is where it comes down to marketing. You would take that role you were in and you would isolate it, and you would put it on your social media feed, and you would say, look, this is me doing this character for whatever it was, Disney or Disney XD or whatever you were on.
Sure.
And then market that to producers. And then they'll be like, oh, wow, he did a great job. Let's give him, 3 or 4 more lines in the project I'm working on, which is about, ponies and dancing in the forest or whatever it may be,
Right.
So it comes down to you and your agent working together as a marketing team and pitching yourself to these producers.
So you use social media as a tool in order to continue to strategize and acquire more business, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, that in 2018, that's the way. Instead of sending people things in the mail like demo tapes and how it used to be, I can instantly be in a producer's face if I make a LinkedIn post.
Right.
Whether it's just 1 out of 3,000 people that see it, it's still better than 0.
Right. Well, the only way that I honestly find any of this the guests that I have that are. I mean, you're one of a handful that I've just met out of Vayner Nation, but I did another one with Nelson Santos. He does the volunteering across the world, basically. And it's interesting to me because he uses social media almost exclusively in order to promote something like that. And it's how he makes his income. You know what I mean? Now, again, totally different goal between you two guys, you know what I mean? But to see how he's utilizing social media and working that in order to, he essentially is trying to get more people to volunteer. And I think that's interesting because in the same breath, people donate to him for him to continue to do that with, that's his career. And I think it's interesting because I watched him, the way that he was using social media. And then I've looked at how you use social media, and I see that to have something like a product, I guess, like when you do these little trailer spots, that's got to be awesome. Do you develop small trailers of your own or some sort of like characters in order to put as like a demo reel to give to somebody? Is that something that you do, or do you use past gigs that you have gone and worked?
A combination of both. A lot of the gigs that I do, I never see, or they air on TV and then they stay within the production house. You have to like go ask them, hey, can I have that spot that I did for you?
Interesting.
Because they don't like give it to you.
They own it or whatever. Right?
Yeah, they own it. Unless it's on YouTube, they post it on their YouTube, and then you can kind of take it from the YouTube.
Right. Like my name's in there. No, I can take this.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I do create my own media. I create me reading in the booth. I film it. I do as much self-promotion as possible. And I just taught myself that. No one ever told me to do that, but I do it because it works. How else are people going to know I exist unless I create content of me doing what I do? So I came up with the idea that if I have a past gig that I've done, and it's been out for enough time where it's not a secret or something anymore,
right?
Then I can film myself tracking it, and then I can have the finished spot, and people can be a part of the process, and they can see what it is that I do, and then if they want that, they can hire me.
Right. And I think, if I'm correct, on trailervoiceartist.com, which is Brent's site, anybody listening, if you guys want to hire him or definitely reach out to him, I think I saw that was where you had done something like that, where I had seen, under the demos, I think, or video showcase, where you're actually in the booth and then you do the cut for the trailer and I apologize, I think it was NCIS or something like that. It was one of the TV shows, but it was just that little 30-second spot, I think it was, or 45 seconds. And then it cuts over and shows the final version of that, which was you doing the actual trailer between on the TV show. I think that is so cool that you're at that point now too, where, I mean, if you look at your site, dude, you've got all kinds of different movies on there. Did you have something to do with each one of those, like Skyfall and Dark Shadows and all that stuff? Or is that just background on the, because I know that you had said that we were going to get into what trailer voice artists were, but I'm guessing that is a house that you have other people putting auditions into, right? Do I see that on here? Is that what this is about? So, like, what is trailer voice artist? Sorry.
Okay. So trailer voice artist is my brand. My actual website is brentallenhagel.com. Mm-hmm. And that's my personal site.
Right. Okay.
Trailer voiceover artist is what I use to market myself and my peers to movie trailer houses and networks.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. So it's not just you for trailer voice artists. This is other projects and stuff as well.
Yeah, so if you click on booking, on book an artist on the end, you can see that's the roster of people. And we're all with different A-list talent agencies.
Right, okay.
But we're all friends because we all go to the same workshops together and we all know each other. And I know that if a producer contacts me, any one of those people on that roster would just kill it. They would nail it. And you have to have, I know all their gear is legit. I know their training is legit. I know that if they're going to get it back in 30 minutes, I just have confidence in those people. So I applied to some of these higher end movie trailer managers, and they didn't want me. So I'm like, all right, I don't need someone's permission to work. Right. I don't need your acceptance to work. Right. I'm just going to build my own competing company.
That's amazing. Okay, so that totally makes sense. So then all of these guys have kind of come together and under the same umbrella, and then you guys all just kind of boats that rise together on the ocean, right? Is that
exactly?
That is so cool, man. We get a lot of that on this podcast, which is kind of cool. Like I see that there's a lot of people that are out there. You would think that, you work kind of in a cutthroat industry, you know what I mean? Like you said, and it's cool to see people banding together to try to overcome, even obstacles as what would seem as benign as like just having management, fleece you guys out. Cause now you guys as a whole can be seen as a brand, right? I'm sure people are starting to know trailer voice artists. So that's really cool, man. I like the fact that you guys are doing that. Do you guys ever do like public readings or stuff or any sort of like go to like a Comic-Con or something like that and do like voices or anything like that to promote trailer voice artists?
Not yet. I'm sure that will evolve. We're taking me and one of the other coaches are taking because we coach too, some of us, are going to take our first trip up to Vancouver, in Canada and go up there and do some teaching for a 2-day weekend seminar. But as far as the actual Comic-Con stuff, I'm sure that'll be down the pipeline. I only started this back in February, so it takes a couple years to get a brand going, like 10.
Sure. And get it making money, I'm sure.
Yeah, and get it making money. So how it works is I don't actually deal with anyone's finances. I'm strictly a marketing guy. If anyone off that website wants to get hired, they will contact their agent. So I'm strictly marketing, and I don't want to step on any established relationships.
Sure.
I just want to get our brands recognized by the people who may hire us.
That's awesome. And doing so, it's like almost like Wu-Tang Clan, man. Like y'all just come together under the umbrella. Yeah, right. And then each one of you guys has like got your own like spin-off thing. That is badass. So, and I honestly didn't look through this as much. I was just looking for you. I didn't realize that this was so, designed to help everybody that's in here. Do they all have their own video showcase and their own demos through here? Like they can all show that same kind of thing, like you shooting it and then the finished version of it?
No, they don't. But when I do my advertising, I have everyone send me a couple lines, or everyone will say trailer voice artist, or everyone will say rated R or coming soon, or see it in theaters. And then I'll take a mashup of all, I think I have 12 on there, 12 voices, and I will cut promos using everyone's voice with animated graphics.
Oh, that's badass. That's badass, man. I would love anything that you like that you have. If you want to share it to me before we launch this thing, I'd love to put it out on APOB or like on my social media, just to kind of, add to that. And then, I had put out your YouTube video of you, the one that I had saw that you'd posted in Vayner Nation. But if you got anything that you want, people to see, I don't know.
It's really cool looking. Okay. I'm proud of it. It came out great.
That's awesome, man. Well, so outside of this, like what is, do you have anything in the works do you do any sort of producing or anything like that? Are you writing?
So I work mostly in my own voiceover work and then talent development and marketing.
Okay.
So people will come to me, and I coach too, like at a studio here in LA.
I might have to come see you, man.
Yeah. So I take people. So I went through this whole process that I explained earlier, and I learned what to do and what not to do. Sure. And it cost me tens of thousands of dollars to learn that information. So what I do is I will take someone who wants to do voiceover, let them know realistically that's going to cost you, $50,000 to $100,000 to play this game, like at this level.
Wow.
Like, are you willing to put in 10 years of work? Like I kind of break it down. And if everyone's like, yes, I'm willing to do that, then I will say, okay, let's start. And I will teach them the acting, teach them the electronics behind it and everything else. And people will come to me, they'll come over to the house and we'll sit down and we'll make their demos.
You're like Yoda, man. That's awesome. So you get right? Like you bring in the Padawans.
Yeah, because I see raw talent in a lot of people, and I know they will be successful if they're willing to put in the work.
Sure.
And when I called the movie trailer guy and I asked him how he got where he was, he told me that same info. He's like, I tell everyone the same info, and the people who actually do it and put in the work are now working.
Right. That's a very Gary V kind of a thing, right? Like, it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to just wake up and grab it by the balls and just go do it. You know what I mean? Because I think what you have done is it's taken so long, and now you're starting to finally see some of the fruits of your labor. Do you feel like you're working harder now, or do you feel like you're working less? I mean, how should I put this? Do you feel like you're struggling, even though you're probably putting in the same amount of effort every day? Or do you feel like you're actually being successful and like individually, you know what I mean?
No, I feel like I'm always struggling.
Do you really?
Yeah, just like Gary says, he likes the chase. He like just nothing is handed to you. Like I am 3 or 4% of where I want to be out of the 100.
Wow, that's huge, man.
Even if you book these like major gigs and you make $1 million, that's great. But my personality is going to look for the next thing.
Right.
Like, can I buy a building in Santa Monica and put trailer voice artists on the outside logo and run a multinational trailer voice? Can I get Japanese voices? Can I get Spanish? Like, I am constantly going to try to expand. That's just my personality. Yeah.
So is that, so something like that, that's the next step for you, because you're teaching, you're bringing people in, you're showing them kind of the way. Do you feel like that's going to be the next step for you logically, you think, is to open up your own location and try to get, be one of the big boys?
Well, I still have this thing where I want to be the talent, I'm kind of playing in both fields where I want to be the talent, but I also really enjoy marketing and talent development.
Sure.
So ideally, I'd like to keep both of these things going, and I would have, and I enjoy my relationships with my agents. So I don't want to lose any of that. I just need to figure out a way to make everything work where I don't step on anyone's toes.
Right. Make a sweet dichotomy cutting between the two worlds you kind of want to live in.
I enjoy giving people those aha moments. Like when I talk to people, I can see them like leave their body. And then I just like their body is left to me, right? Because like their spirit has like gone off thinking about what I just told them. Like when I tell someone like you need to wash dishes for 10 years to save up enough money to take classes, they're just like, oh.
Whoa, yeah. Didn't expect that.
Leave. Yeah, I thought you were just going to hand me a microphone and a paycheck.
Wow. Well, and I remember you telling me, you were like, if you can, in this day and age, you can kind of work from home, but I mean, if you want to master your craft, you need to go and put in the work, because it's just like on-screen acting. I'm sure you've got to work at it every day. Do you do any singing or anything like that, man? Like, is that something that you do in order to kind of keep your voice strong? Because I'm sure that you talk enough, but do you ever, when you start these shouting matches, do you ever lose your voice and you've got to like fill it in with some sort of work in the background to do that, like on your own time?
Yeah, I do. I sing when I wake up in the morning, up until, I don't know if you would call it singing. It's like, I try to play my register as much as I can up and down.
Okay.
And then I just make sounds, I would call it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like guttural noises, or are we talking like
exactly?
Okay.
Well, it depends on what it is. Like for, like a car commercial is going to be, or a regular TV commercial, it's going to be more up here and friendly and guy next door.
Right.
And then a trailer is going to be more of the throaty thing down here. So it depends on what I'm trying to warm up that day.
Wow. Okay. So this is like a early morning stretching, right? I could say
exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
So and my friends are gonna, they all give me like the head shake because it kind of is not relevant to this conversation, but it is. I used to be in a metal band, and I used to lose my voice from screaming all the time, and I thought that it was all based on emotional response. The more built up and wound up you were in screaming, the more it would benefit the sound. But I would lose my voice after. I couldn't even, maybe 20 minutes of, trying to go through our set, which was like 6 songs, I would lose my voice. I couldn't figure out how people were able to do this because like I was shredding my vocals basically. So I looked up a vocal coach, Melissa Cross, and I don't know if you're savvy with her at all, but she had figured out a methodology to teach someone how to scream properly, using the dump and using the secondary vocal cords and trying to make a lot of things happen. And I guess this same technique can be applied to people that do public speaking, and you use your diaphragm to speak louder rather than using your singing voice. So I had gone through, she had like a disc, and whenever I would do my we were going to play a show that night or two, I would go through this disc, and it was that same kind of thing. Like I think it was 20 minutes of you had to do that whole thing, and it really made a difference. And I thought it was all woo woo, I thought that was kind of BS, but when you go through those steps, you find that you can do it again the next day and again the next day and again the next day. That was huge to me back when I was doing that. But of course, I was for 2 years of my life, I think, so I wasn't doing it every day, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's just like a muscle. You're strengthening them. Like you're hitting them with a certain amount of pressure, quickly, and then they're getting used to that. And so when I teach people, I teach them how to, like you said, you saw me moving. Yeah. I teach people how to use their physicality. And I teach people how to use a certain amount of breath for the read. So everyone thinks you just pick up a page and you're reading. Then that's not so much true. In order to so we're creating a sound within the words. It's not just the word. It's the emotional response to the word. It's the pitch. It's the amount of volume. There's so much to it to be considered like great at it.
Sure.
Or so a lot of people are using the wrong volume when they do voiceover, and I say, "Whoa, dude, you need to take it way down,
sure.
or you need to let the lid off." A lot of people put I call it emotional limiters on their work. They're afraid of releasing all that joy or all that pain within inside themselves, and all this has to do with, like you were saying, the amount of vocalness they're giving me. And so some people, I tell them to scream. I say because they've never screamed before. They always do everything right. They always do everything right here, and it's very quiet. And I'm like, you need to just see what it feels like,
right?
To let it all go.
Yeah.
And then they say, "Wow, I've never done that."
Yeah.
So getting people out of their comfort zone and getting them to do a voice they've never done before unleashes like 5 more voices.
Wow. So this is the thing that you try to tap whenever you get somebody that's a hopeful voiceover artist, is you want to see what their natural talent is and then grow on that, right?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Where are you now, and what can I do to make you better? And then go home and practice that.
What a cool
I give a lot
job.
of homework.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, and I know I'd kind of brought this up. Well, maybe I didn't. I thought I had texted you about this because we didn't tell our listeners, but it took Brent and I like probably 2 months to get together.
Yeah.
We kept missing each other, but we finally got it, man, and it's golden. But I was asking you about, damn it, and see, I'm not in the world that you are all the time, but am I correct in saying that it's Mel Brooks that was one of the Looney Tunes voiceover? He was like the guy, right? He did 10 voices or something. It's not Mel Brooks. He's the actor.
He's the actor.
Yeah, I got that wrong. It's
Mel Blanc.
Mel Blanc. See?
Yeah.
So close. Samson.
I was having a moment.
Off. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So he did all these different voices and all these different characters. Is he somebody that you see as like one of the legends? Because I had seen that his character of Porky the Pig would do the stutter. I couldn't even try to do it again, but I didn't know that was something that was a very technical voiceover lesson that was taught in like some of these voiceover schools. Not necessarily like this is some holy grail of lessons, but it was just one of those things that if somebody could master it, it would show you kind of the technicality, because each one of those stutter sounds was actually honed, and he made that like it was actually something that he had to practice in order to do that. Are you familiar with this at all?
I am, yes. So now there is somebody who has mastered that and is now the new voice of Porky Pig, and he is also one of the more prevalent animation teachers in the industry.
Okay.
But yes, everything is intentional and crafted and takes a lot of practice. And I think it stemmed from a vocal warm up, like putting a bunch of consonants together or things like that.
Sure.
Sally selling shells by the seashore sort of thing.
Right.
And then he turned it into the interview I watched with him. He said he went to a farm and was watching pigs and kind of was seeing how they interacted and what they sounded like. And then he came up with the voice from just watching the pigs.
What a trip. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And, also he wasn't a young man. Like he invested, 20, 30 years in creating these voices.
Right.
So it takes a long time. I don't think people give enough credit to the amount. Like one page of animation copy will take me about 5 or 6 hours to record.
Really?
It's just because you have to build an entire character, and every line needs to sound like you're interacting with somebody. You can't just be reading.
Right. Well, I'm going to confess, and I feel like such a rookie for having to say this, but the intro that I'm going to do for this episode, as well as all the other ones, I do it by myself and I record it, and I don't script anything that I do in the podcast, of course, right? But when I script the intro, I literally just write it out by hand and I try to say it as I go. So I write it out. It probably takes me sometimes almost 2 hours to get a paragraph or two said, because I'm pissed off because I'll just trip a word or something like that. And this is the intro to the podcast. Like it has to be, that's the only part that needs to be clean. I will literally scream
that happens,
then
dude.
turn
it's
around
normal.
and it's word by word, and then you'll get too robotic, or you'll get too, and you just keep getting pissed off. I'll put the thing down on my headphones. I'll walk away, come back, big deep breath. So I'm sure that's a tenth of what you experience when you actually have somebody trying to pay you for this damn page of copy that you're reading. Right.
It takes, like I said, when I was everything you were going through, I went through that for years and I just never gave up.
Yeah.
Like I would just like turn the microphone off and walk around. Like I couldn't even say like the word electricity. Wow. I just get stumbled, know, and it's very, very frustrating. And then at the same time, you're going to do 20,000 auditions, and then you're going to get like 1 or 2 and they'll pay you like $300.
Oh my God.
Like you do not do this if you're trying to get rich quick. This is not going to happen.
Listen to Brent. He's the Jedi master.
Yeah. You will end up throwing your headphones against the wall and saying it's not for you. Just do it because you love it. Do it because you get a kick out of it, because it's your passion, because you get a high behind the microphone. And I'm sure that's why you would do it.
Plays to your ego. That's how I feel about this. It always plays to my ego. I like to do interviews in person, and if I make it out to LA, man, we're gonna have to get together again for sure. But I like to do these in person because when I go out to a coffee shop or something like that, I'm setting up all my gear, I'm doing all this stuff, and I like it because it really puts me to the test. Like you talk all the talk, but then when you're hitting record and you're in this loud coffee shop and you're trying to get some interesting conversation, I like the fact that I'm able to do that. I'm none of my friends do it, and they're not. I'm making no money. I'm making no money. So I love it, man. And thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, man. I mean, I feel like you're this huge character that I wish that, I could have recorded even the conversation that we had, because I mean, I feel like you embody the kind of person that, you are putting yourself out there as like a teacher. You're very, your voice that you put out, even it sounds very like you. I see you and then I can hear you through your trailers that you've done. I'm like, man, that totally fits when I see you, man. So I wish you the greatest of luck, man. And I'm glad that you were that you broke through your 10 years of the doldrums, because I know how bad that can be for somebody's ego to get shot down. What did you say? You do 20,000 interviews and get 3 maybe, or 20,000 auditions, should I say? And
you don't even get feedback either. You're shipping them just into a black void. So no one's going to say, oh, it was okay. And you either get hired or you don't.
Wow. But nowadays, I'm sure you're getting more wins than losses, right? And is that from you, like knowing that you're going to get these roles, like which ones to go and apply yourself to?
That's because I've earned, I should say, the best talent agents in the business. And then when a script comes in from a producer, they say, okay, I know, Mark, Sean, and Brent would be my 3 that I would really push for this project. So it's just, I'm with people that know what I do, and I have a team is essentially what I'm saying. So yes, when things come my way, it's already been pre-vetted and approved for me to read on.
Damn,
they
man.
think I have the best shot at this particular thing.
That's what I'm saying. You're the next Bruce Willis of voiceover acting.
Yeah. So yes, but these are all long-term career marketing choices and goals. And like, it's like, you got to think 5-10 years out. There's no instant gratification in this. And that's a great rule for life. I mean, anything you want to work on. I sat down with my agent when I was interviewing with him, and I said, I'm the most hungry guy that has ever sat in this chair across from you. And he's like, I believe it, man. Anything worth fighting for is going to take you a long time.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm here, man. And I am hungry. And he's like, all right, let's see what you got. And he just started throwing things my way. And I have some exciting news that I can't share yet, but when it comes, I'll send you a letter.
Please. Yeah. So, and to speak to that, so are there any projects or anything that you can talk about that are in the works that we can look out for you on? I mean, is there anything that you have done that will be released that you can talk about?
No,
not yet.
I sign NDAs for everything.
Right. I did one of those once. I got an NDA once, and all I did was carry a piece of paper back and forth. I said, "How are you going to NDA me for that, man?"
I narrate something for a feature film with a major star. That's all I can say. And then the other thing is, yeah, right. The other thing is I narrate a series of shows.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, maybe more to be revealed in the future, and definitely, yes. I'll definitely keep my listeners, abreast of these changes, because I think that's awesome, man. It's such an interesting thing. Like, there's no cookie cutter. There's no way to like go for a plan of how you've made your career, man. You're a total self-made man, bro. Kudos to you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, just make it up as I go along, just like everyone else.
Right. It seems to work, though. It seems to work.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else that you'd like to, you know what? Why don't you, I know that we had talked about it, but we can find you at BrentAllenHagel.com, right?
Yeah. BrentAllenHagel.com, on Instagram at TrailerVOBrent.
Okay.
I post a lot of videos of me working in the studio, me working with other talent, demo production, pictures of my kid and my life and stuff on that. So you can actually see me in the booth working and recording audio and some finished stuff I've done. And then that's pretty much, I focus mostly on Instagram because I get a 60-second window to perform, and it's video. People engage most with that. Facebook is more for my grandma to keep up with, what I'm doing. What I'm doing.
Upload an album of Disney pictures or something.
Yeah. Twitter just moves too fast. And Twitter, just everything's flying too fast. The feed moves too fast. So I don't really use it. But I use LinkedIn because LinkedIn is most of these producers and media creation people are on there for professional reasons. So I use pretty much Instagram and the LinkedIn mostly.
I feel like I get more like actual readers of anything I put on LinkedIn. Like when I put out some sort of an article or something like that, or something that I hand key, it drives me nuts because I'll put it on Facebook and nobody looks, nobody cares.
No,
same.
That's also moving too fast.
Right.
The feed is just going
right, and the algorithm doesn't ever give you. You don't know for sure that you're going to reach anybody. It could get kicked all the way down according to settings. Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay. And then the other website would be trailervoiceartist.com. And I'm guessing that's going to be more for people looking for talent, right?
Exactly. But you can hear a lot of those demos on there are things I produced, and I worked with all of those talent, and I tracked them, and I produced the demos, and I said, we had a session. I said, give me a little, pitch me up a little bit. Okay, give me a little more resonance. I crafted those reads.
Okay, very cool, man. Yeah, and I think that's going to be something that I'm going to follow very closely, and I might even try my hand at it, see if I can't go and waste my time with a few auditions.
Yeah, go ahead, send it over.
Yeah, man. Well, I feel like if I sent you, at least, what we do here, I'm trying to make this thing clean. I literally even gave myself like 3 versions of this same recording on my side. So I really appreciate you helping me out, jumping on this, man. And I definitely look forward to anything you got in the future. Absolutely share it to us, and we'll put it out on A Perch of Birds. And thank you for coming on.
No, I had a great time. Thank you so much. And, I love to share the wisdom. I'm just kind of a natural teacher. And if somebody asks me about it, like I can talk for like 3 hours about the process. So right. Thank you for giving me an outlet to share what it is that I do.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks.